Hey guys, what's up? We are back with some more reactions after dark. And of course, we're going to be watching the Deadly Korean Bridge collapse at Kill 32 by Rotten Mango. Also, the bus filled with students fell 66 feet into the Han River, which is also part of the title there. Of course, last time we did watch Nuke's Top 5, which I was pretty sure no one was going to care about that. But did end up losing a subscriber yesterday. I was like, really? You need Rotten Mango that badly that you just immediately just unsubscribed? I mean, I'm just joking, but we are 5 subscribers away from hitting 1,000, so it would be nice to hit 1,000 sometime this century. I don't think I will ever be partner because we're obviously a soft partner with members, but like a full ad partner, I don't think I'll ever achieve because I've been around long enough to like it's not possible. So at least getting 1,000 subscribers would be cool. But again, we're like 5 away from that, so we should be able to hit that before the year's over, right? All we need is 5, which could happen. I mean, people seem to be crazy, not crazy, but like they really like the Rotten Mango stuff more so than any of the other videos. Like Void's at the bottom, then it's Masquerade after that, and then Crowley after that, and Mango's all the way at the top. Like all of them combined doesn't compare to the Rotten Mango rad videos. So I probably will just be doing that for the next couple. I might even do the Madman on the Island tomorrow, like back to back, like this one today and then that tomorrow. Granted, I did look through a lot of her videos today, and I didn't really see anything that caught my eye. Like maybe we can do the Silent Killer of South Korea one. Like maybe that, but I don't know if there's really anything else I wanted to see. So maybe we'll just have to find someone new. But I don't know. It seems like people really like Rotten Mango comparatively to any of the other uh, people that we've done on the rad videos. So we'll have to see if there's anything that could possibly replace these videos, or I'll just have to end up reacting to everything that she has, right? At that point. But we can just go ahead and get to it now. I don't know if there's anything else I wanted to say. I don't remember. If there is, I'll just probably just end up bringing it up later. I do still have, of course,
A
the pen
sinking
for this.
car will be fully submerged within 30 to 120 seconds. So you have essentially 2 minutes, if you're lucky, to get out of that submerged car. And it's gonna be terrifying. Every second of it is going to be like life or death. The minute that your car hits that water, the front of your car is gonna start to nosedive straight down into the river, the ocean, wherever you may be. The front of the car is typically heavier, so it starts slowly sinking and bringing in more water. Now, this is what some professionals have advised you to do if you're in these types of situations. Roll down the windows as fast as you can. You're about to hit that water, roll down the window. You're in the water, roll down the window. Because once you're fully...
It's assuming you can roll the window down. If your car lets you do that. Because a lot of windows are electronic now, aren't they? Or you have to press a button, so if that malfunctions, I guess you wouldn't be able to roll the window down. And like I feel like most people don't even understand what rolling the window down means, because back in the day, you actually had a handle you cranked to roll the window down and roll it back up. So I don't know if Zoomers or Gen Alpha definitely. Zoomers might still know, but Gen Alpha, I don't know if they would even know about handle cranks on the windows, unless people are out here still using really old cars that have the cranks on them.
submerged, it's going to be nearly impossible to open your car door.
Like when it's actually submerged. Like if the entire car is under the water, um, the pressure on the outside of the car will refuse to allow you to press or open up the door until the pressure on the inside is equalized with the outside, which means the entire car needs to be filled uh, completely with water, basically, and have the pressure equalized between the two for you to be able to open the door. Which apparently, which I didn't know this because I thought this was how it was supposed to be. There's a misconception with that, which is I thought you were supposed to wait for the water inside to equalize, and so you can actually open the door properly. But apparently, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to get out as fast as possible. Don't wait for it to pressurize. So, which means break the windows, roll them down somehow, get those windows open. The door isn't going to open. No matter what you do, that door is not opening. Unless you're like Hulk or something, right? I don't know if that would even matter, but uh, yeah, because you have to wait for the pressure. So you just got to get those windows down by any means necessary, which is why you're supposed to have that little hammer thing that like for your car that you barely tap on the window and it just instantly shatters the thing. I don't know if that's actually something you're supposed to have, like if that's not just some as seen on TV junk, but I'm pretty sure you're supposed to have one of those in the car, and they actually do something. I mean, they look kind of like this. Like, just take your pick on which one you want. It's like anything that looks like this to break your window on the inside is an emergency tool. But yeah, it's just like a little hammer thing. Some of them are just like actual, like look like ice picks. But I think it's just like concentrating a blow to a very small point, which causes it to shatter. I'd assume something like that. But yeah, I don't know if those things actually work or not. I don't know if that's just like a scam or like or if you really should have one of those in your car. Like everybody should have one of those in the car just in case they get trapped underwater.
And if your car windows stop working, then you're going to be trapped inside the car with zero escape. You're going to drown to death inside the car. So roll down your windows because the power to operate the windows is only going to last so long. You have a very short window of opportunity before all the electrical systems are destroyed by the water.
That is what I'm saying. Like nowadays, sure, like pressing, that's what I was saying, like pressing a button to roll down the window is probably not gonna work for very long because again, it actually is electronic. But again, back in the day, when you rolled down the window, you literally manually physically rolled the window down. I'm assuming that's all mechanical. So if you're worried about uh I guess drowning from your car going underwater, maybe get a car that has a actual handle. I don't know if that's actually bad advice or not. I don't know. Because maybe for some reason those handles will break. I don't know. But I feel like if you're worried about that, having a proper actual roll down handle is better than electronic buttons.
If you can't roll down the windows, you gotta find something to break it with. Don't try and break the windshield. That is the thickest part of glass in the entire car. You gotta use the side windows. Then you take off your seatbelt. You do not want to be restrained while you're trying to free yourself from drowning in a car. Help other people out in the car, and then swim out of the car safely. It's gonna be the easiest to swim out of the car when the water level is still below your car window that's open. Now, once there's water coming in through that open car window, you're going up against the water pressure. Water's pushing you down, you gotta swim up against it. If you're not a strong swimmer, you might have to wait until the entire car sinks to the bottom and then wait for the water pressure to equalize before trying to swim up. Because even if the car is fully submerged, it's still sinking. So the water is pushing it down and you're trying to go up.
Wow.
You can still do it, but it's going to take a lot more energy and a lot more skill. Wherever you are in this process, you're going to want to use your feet to kick off the car to try and propel yourself towards the surface. But what if you wake up in a sinking car? What if you didn't even see yourself falling? What if you weren't ready? You weren't alert. You didn't have any of the time to do these things. And now the car is filling up with water and you're panicking. In the Han River in Seoul, South Korea, 33-year-old Min Jun was knocked unconscious. He violently wakes up by the cold. It's just so cold. And he notices he's in the driver's seat of his car and there is cold water splashing into his car. It's slow.
Water effects? The heck? Have we ever had like water effects applied? I know they like to do the little subtle piano playing once she says something sad, right? Like I've noticed that. Like they like to add a little piano sting in there on sad notes to try to make it even more sad. But I don't remember hearing sound effects like that before with the water. Also, is this person who has been submerged in the water on this bridge, or this is just a anecdote of someone who has been submerged before, but isn't really relevant to this bridge story? I guess we'll see.
Slowly filling up. His feet are fully submerged at this point, and now it's like trying to reach his knees. He's freaking out. Like, what the hell is going on? He has no idea why he's in water. He starts panicking. He's looking out the window. All he sees is water. What the hell? His car is in the middle of the Han River sinking. How did he even get here? He tries to push open the car door. He pushes, it doesn't even budge. Something is blocking it, or
I mean, it's the water pressure. Because I guess people at this point, like the average person, doesn't know that water pressure is a thing when you're in underwater and you literally can't open the door. I feel like I've known that since a teen. I don't remember what taught me that. Something on TV uh, taught me that. Maybe it was Spike TV. I don't know. Because I'm thinking of like a specific thing, but it was something on TV. Maybe it was even the Discovery Channel or who knows what. But I've known that there's a water pressure issue when being in a car since I was a kid, basically. But I'm guessing that's not common knowledge.
perhaps it's the water pressure that's high enough already. It won't move. He tries to slam his body up against the door to get it to open. It's not even moving a little bit, not even a single inch. So he's like, okay, calm down, think, we gotta think. He could hear his breathing ringing in his ears, and he's panicking. Even if he gets out, then what? Be plunged into the dangerous river in the middle of October? I mean, surely he's gonna quickly die. The currents are strong enough to drag him underneath the water, and if that doesn't happen, he's gonna die of hypothermia pretty quickly because he's in the middle of the river. But if he stays in the car, he's gonna drown. The car is gonna slowly submerge, and he's gonna drown to death either way. So no. He's gotta get out. And he had wasted so much energy trying to get that car door open. The water is now up to his waist. He has to think clearly. He tries to open the windows. It doesn't work. It's broken. And he's thinking, okay, what do I do? What do I do? The window has a tiny hairline crack running through it. Minjun knew that this is the only way out, the only way to live, or at least have a shot at living. So he uses his elbow and he smashes it into the window once, twice, 3 times. The water is just coming up higher and higher, filling up the car, and it's splashing up against the car, trying to drag it down. I mean, the adrenaline is so high, he doesn't even feel how cold the water is anymore. He uses the weight of his body to smash into the window again, and it finally shatters. It breaks. He pushes out the glass shards. He takes one last breath, closes his eyes, and jumps out the window. And he plunges straight into the cold concrete. And he's like, what the hell? Why is this not water? He opens his eyes and he looks around. His car was half submerged in water, but still resting on a piece of concrete that is now floating in the Han River. A giant piece of concrete the size of 2 football fields is now floating in the water. It does not belong there. It wasn't there 2 seconds ago.
I'm wondering where the concrete is. Is he standing on the concrete or is it above him? I'm wondering in this depiction of what's going on here. And we'll keep cutting, but we should be done with the cuts now. But yeah, like, so I'm assuming it's above him, right? But it's hard to tell what's going on here because obviously we have the car. Oh, this is not a good color for this with her current background. Back to yellow. Obviously we have the car, which I'm not even going to attempt to try to make it look nice. We have this crummy car here. Now, is the concrete here or is the concrete above? Because like that matters. Because if it's above him on top of the car, then it's like, oof, he has to swim around that. But if it's below, then that's kind of okay. I mean, it doesn't really matter at that point. But again, we're not exactly sure what is going on here. Let's like go back.
In the Han River, a giant piece
Let's go like back like a lot.
finally shatters. It breaks. He pushes out the glass shards. He takes one last breath, closes his eyes, and jumps out the window. And he plunges straight into the cold concrete. And he's like, what the hell? Why is this not water? He opens his eyes and he looks around. His car was half submerged in water, but still resting on a piece of concrete that is now floating in the Han River.
Okay, I think I understand what is happening here. I think I can depict what we're talking about. So, let's say this is the water, right? The concrete, which will make green, is, let's say, like, maybe it's diagonal. Like this? Maybe? Or something like that. It could even be extended out this way too. like broken up. And the car, I did this a little bit low, but the car is, like this in the water. But of course, I think the water would be higher than this. Like the water would be like that, right? So that when you look around inside the front seat, it looks like you're in, uh, just like in the ocean, surrounded by this ocean, because you're below the sea level. But like he jumped out of the car, maybe he got into the back window or something, jumped out, and is like, wait a minute, why am I above water when I was just submerged? So it's some variation of this, if you understand what I'm doing here. It's something like that. Like the concrete is just below or something. I'm guessing is why he's like, wait, I'm actually safe in this scenario.
A giant piece of concrete the size of 2 football fields is now floating in the water. It does not belong there. It wasn't there 2 seconds ago. And behind him, Minjin sees what looks straight out of an apocalyptic movie. Floating on the concrete island is a bloodbath. People crawling out of their crushed cars, moaning for help, people in the water screaming, begging to be saved while they're getting swept away by the powerful currents. Other cars are fully sinking into the bottom of the deep river. A bus behind him is crushed to half its size. The bus is now coming up to his waist, with blood just pouring out of it like someone stepped on a berry-flavored juice box. He could see blood-soaked hands.
That was a highly specific description, especially when I'm pretty sure the bus in the scenario was supposed to be a bunch of kids. That was a bit out of pocket.
Like reaching out of the bus, trying to crawl out, and nobody was coming to help them. It would be up to the 49 people floating in the middle of the river to save each other. By the end, 32 people would be dead. This is the case of the Seongsu Bridge collapse in South Korea, and how 32 people died without medical attention on a concrete floating island in the middle of the Han River, while helicopters flew over and live streamed the whole thing to news networks.
I mean, here we go again with the helicopters just circling an event and not doing anything about it. Kind of just seems to be the just another Tuesday for Korea at this point. I don't know why. It's just their motif. Also, obviously, this is muted because the song is licensed, and I don't know if you need to pay to have this license, so I'm not getting in trouble for that.
I'd like to thank today's sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support Direct Relief, a humanitarian organization that is active in all 50 states and more than 80 countries, with a mission to improve the health and lives of people affected by poverty or emergencies. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's growing team of dedicated researchers and translators. And we'd also like to thank you guys for your continued support as we work on our mission to be worthy advocates of these causes. As always, full show notes are available at RottenMangoPodcast.com. We worked with our Korean researchers to help assist in the gathering of data for this case, but as always with international cases, please let us know in the comments if there was anything miscommunicated, lost in translation, or just any additional information you would want us to know. Leave it in the comments. And a quick note, many of the victims involved have wished to stay anonymous, so we're going to be assigning aliases for them, and with that being said, let's get into it.
That's pretty
All
normal.
the workers of the local convenience stores nearby, they knew this man. He was kind of an interesting middle-aged man. He worked by installing those LED lights on the outside of buildings. So he worked for a light installation company. And the ones that really watched him, or if they ever looked out the window and they saw him installing these lights, anytime he got a little bit high up on.
I'm wondering if we haven't heard him. Have we heard him yet? Her husband or whatever? Because we have a different setup here. I don't know if this is a different place or a different location, or they just redecorated this place or what. I'm guessing they moved, but I don't know. She has looked over here in this direction, so I'm guessing he's over there. If there is another person in this room.
The ladder, his knees would start buckling. His whole body would start shaking. And then after work, he would walk into a convenience store and buy all the food that he was craving. Now, for years, there were ups and downs in his finances. On the times that he wasn't making a lot of money, he would still walk in and buy all the food that he was craving. There would be split moments where the convenience store owner would tell him exactly how much it was, and the middle-aged man would open his wallet. Let's say the food is $19. He only had $20 in his wallet. He would hand it over with a big smile on his face and tell him, thank you, you gotta eat, and walk out. He did this even when he had more money. He ate everything that he was craving all the time. He never skimped out on food. And it's very interesting because the ones that had known him for years now, they knew that he had not always been like that. He didn't even work installing lights when he was younger. He was a police officer. It felt like this man had two lives. One from before and one from after the incident. Before, he was just another young cop in this police-issued van complaining about food prices going up. I mean, at this point, it's straight up robbery for some kimbap. I mean, it's so chisae, which means annoyingly unfair, that I would just rather not even eat at this point.
Okay, so I think with what she said so far, who we're talking about is someone who is like after the bridge incident. And before the bridge incident, he might have been a cop, and then afterwards, now he's just the guy who installed lights and is so thankful to be alive? Question mark. That he just will. He's just indulging in life's pleasures? Question mark. That being good food, right? Just whatever he wants to eat, he'll buy it, even if he doesn't really have the money for it. He'll get it because when. You never know when the last time is that you're going to get to enjoy that, etc., etc.
The rest of the other 10 police officers would chuckle, and the one driving, he turned up the volume to the music. Maybe if it had been any other day, they would have just continued the conversation about how the cost of living keeps going up, and police officers in South Korea, we're only getting paid like $30,000 a year. It's not fair. We're saving lives.
$30,000 a year is pretty close to near minimum wage. I think minimum wage, which where I'm from is $7.25. It hasn't changed for like a decade plus. I think that's pretty close to that. Okay, I just did the math for that. It's actually not too close. I think 30,000 is much more than Texas minimum wage. I think like no one's paying that, but I'm pretty sure the minimum wage, unless it's changed and I haven't seen it, was like $7.25 an hour, which 40 hours a week, 4 weeks a month, 12 months a year, that comes out to $13,920. And I'm assuming that tax would be taken out of that, right? So less than $13,000 is what minimum wage, Texas minimum wage gets you. Which that is Jesus Christ. I'm pretty sure it's been that way for well over a decade at this point. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, just looked it up to make sure. Yeah, it still says the exact same thing. Texas minimum wage hasn't changed since 2009. So yeah, it's been like 16 years of just 725, which again is only like that's less than $14,000 a year, which is like essentially, it's not essentially nothing, but almost nothing. But again, I don't think people are being paid 725 in the current year. It's just you can legally be paid only 725 an hour. It hasn't gone up, but I don't know if anyone's actually being charged 725 because I don't know. Like I'm pretty sure 13 or 14,000 is like not something that can be lived off of, but everyone is complaining about not being able to live out here, so maybe people are being paid that.
$30,000 a year, it's not fair. We're saving lives. But not today. Today was their day to celebrate. It's National Police Day, and the 11 Seoul Metropolitan Police officers are heading in their bright blue van to receive awards for their exceptional performance. So they're excited. They're not talking about kimbap prices today. They're having a blast. There was this slightly bittersweet undertone to it all because this was also the last day for one of the officers in the van, which sounds, I don't know, dramatic, right? But they're not just coworkers. I mean, these officers have been working together on the force for some of them months, some of them years. A lot of officers say, other than family, the only people I would trust with my own life are my partners on duty. If my partner is out there chasing a knife-wielding criminal, we're doing it together. If my partner is out there giving out parking tickets, we're doing it together. If my partner is receiving an award for exceptional performance, we're doing it together. This would be their last ride all together. So they're turning up the volume to this very upbeat song. It's called Cocktail Love. It's honestly the last song that you would expect police officers to be.
Copyright? Hello? No, don't. Hopefully that isn't actually the song.
Jamming out to. It's a bit of contrast too with the rainy morning outside, and they're singing along while staring out the window, and they're looking into the river, the Han River that they're crossing, and then boom, it hits them. What the hell was that? They turn down the music, and the driver says, it's nothing. It was just like a small stone. You know, sometimes the stones come up from the road. It hit the windshield. That was a big stone, I think, though, because that sound was loud. But now with the music turned off.
I'm guessing that was the sound of the bridge starting to buckle, is what that was. Though if it was buckling, they would have felt it, but it's the same thing. I mean, something started cracking, just not something that would have actually caused the bridge to move around yet.
Their ears are alert. No, but what's that sound? The car gets quiet and they're trying to listen, and it's like this low, like, noise. It almost kind of sounds like the beginning of thunder, like a rumble almost. It's a deep tuk noise. It's like one that you would feel in your bones. The officer driving the car, Officer Lee, he was gonna ask the group what they thought the strange deep noise was, you know, because it's clearly not normal. But his officers start yelling from the back, brake, hit the brakes, hit the brakes. He looks up at the road ahead of him, and the road ahead looks like it's rising. It looks like the road is getting taller out of nowhere. How is that even possible? How is it getting lifted? They're on a bridge. Is this some sort of like weird optical illusion or some sort of earthquake? And as quickly as the road ahead of them looked like it was growing taller, it just vanished completely. It disappeared. And then they felt this really odd, strange weightlessness in their.
Yeah, I'm assuming they're going zero gravity, right? Because they're falling now at this point, so it creates that sense of zero G. But what they were watching was not the bridge in front of them rising, but them sinking, obviously.
Their stomach. Like their stomachs were just floating around inside of their bodies. And then, boom. Some of the officers screamed. Others felt everything go black. Most of them fainted. But one thing was for certain. The next time that they looked out the window, they were in the middle of the Han River. 21-year-old Officer Lee, the driver of the police van, he opened up the driver's side door, and there was so much noise when he opened that door. Emergency sirens getting closer and closer. People are screaming for help. Help. He has to help. So he's forcing his trembling legs to try and move out the car because he's shaken up. It feels like a war zone. It feels like there's bullets just flying towards them from all different angles. And now that he's out of the car, he realizes it's not bullets, it's stone. Like thousands of pieces of gravel are just plummeting from the sky, landing on him, near him, clinking off the police van into the water, creating these giant splashes. He could barely keep his eyes open from all that dust. And then the cold wind. Not just the wind of the Han River, but the helicopters. There's helicopters just circling around. And he's trying to squint and look up, and 66 feet above him, 7 stories above him, is the bridge that he had been driving across just moments ago. It had a giant section just ripped from it in the middle. It's like someone punched down into the bridge, taking a giant piece of slab down to the Han River.
Just get a big picture of this again.
It's like someone.
This shot here. It's a pretty clinical cut, oddly enough, right?
Punched down.
By that, I mean, it's just so. It's like. Whoops. I mean, that doesn't really matter, but we were trying to use red yesterday, right? So, I mean, like this and this are incredibly sharp cuts in this bridge. It's almost like it perfectly detached. I don't know if it's designed that way, so like if it's going to break, if it just completely snaps. Also, these have support columns here, and we can see that one there. Did this have a support column too, or was this just like a hunk of material that uh, just floated here? Is what I'm saying. Like, was this part here, which is obviously down there now, did that have a support beam underneath it, or did it not have a support beam underneath this? I'm not sure, because obviously this is just sunk down. So did this beam, if there was one, get destroyed, or what? Like, what happens? Or was this just flat area, and thus obviously it would be pretty easy for it to like buckle underneath that? Like, was it just like this? I mean, obviously we'll probably end up finding out. And then so the bridge just naturally was made to snap surgically at these points if something was going to happen, and that's why this just plummeted straight down into the river.
Into the bridge, taking a giant piece of slab down to the Han River. He could see peeking over the bridge, like the edge of the bridge up there, 66 feet above him, are people, firefighters, looking terrified. He's like, why do they look so terrified? He turns his eyes back down and turns around in a full circle. They were on a sinking island. A piece of concrete, the slab from the bridge that was missing, was now floating in the Han River, about to sink at any moment. Lee turns to his right. There's people screaming from inside the water. They're being swept away by the current. He turns to his left. There is blood seeping into the concrete, turning it fully dark red. He looks up and he sees a bus full of people upside down, and the bus is completely squashed. He could see long strands of hair just
Yeah, it's like completely compressed.
soaked in blood peeking out from the bus windows. Backpacks were ripped apart, and loose shreds of homework were just sitting in pools of thick blood. The next stop for this bus would have been Muhak Girls High School. In Korea, most high schools don't start class until 8:10 a.m. But technically, if you're not in your seat by 7:50 a.m., you're considered late.
Oof. 8:10. That seems pretty normal. Like when I was in high school or just school, didn't school not start until 8? Isn't that normal? 8 to 3? 8 to 3:30? Like they kept pushing the hour that you got out of school when I was in school. Like they kept pushing it every year a little bit later and later. So I think eventually it was 3:30 question mark. But I think younger years, like lower grades, actually got to get out sooner, so that the kids weren't all getting out at the same time. So you would be able to, okay, we're gonna get our younger kids now, our middle-aged kids now, and now our higher school kids now. So there isn't just an influx of kids, like a massive swarm of children at just one particular hour. It's spread out between like 3 different hours, I would assume. So I feel like 8, but getting to school or starting school at 8 is pretty okay. Maybe 7 even. Maybe it was 7, but I feel like 7 was too dang early, man. It must have been 8 o'clock when school started. So yeah, that was perfectly normal in my opinion.
So most students, they try to shuffle into the classrooms by, I don't know, 7:30 a.m. So you have some time to settle down, set up your little station, catch up with your friends, finish eating the breakfast that you bought at the convenience store. Apparently they call it reading time. But most students, they do not sit calmly and read a book ready.
And be like, why would you? We didn't have to do that. I don't think you just get to school early, just hang outside, eat lunch, which is free. Uh, at that time, I don't know if you could still get free lunch, but like I've always gotten free lunch. I don't know if my parents had to pay for it, like a subscription or anything, but we just had free lunches all the time, especially throughout my entirety of going to school. Because I didn't go to the fancy schools for middle or high school, so it's just you ate what they had for the day. There wasn't, oh yeah, we have Burger King, we have McDonald's, we have I was gonna say churches, but who knows about churches? We have KFC baked into our cafeteria. It was none of that. It was just, this is today's meal. This is what you're eating. This is what you're getting.
Ready for the day to start. They're running around from going from class to class, treating it like a recess, doing their hair, fixing their makeup, playing with their phones. They're doing everything. They're running, taking pictures, eating snacks. And at Muhak Girls High School, most of the students were really good about getting to class on time, except Friday, October 21st. The teachers of Muhak Girls High School walk into their classrooms and they look around. There's 8 empty seats. No one had called ahead of time. Usually if students are sick, the parents will call. If students are late, parents will call. 8 unexcused lateness, tardiness, absence. Strange, you know? 1 or 2, they're used to that maybe. But 8? They look out the window and it's just rain droplets pouring down. Okay, maybe
How many kids were on this bus if only 8 of these girls missed class?
they're late from the rain, but still, it rains all the time. They're on time. We're not sure how everyone at the school found out.
And it immediately kicked in the piano music in the background. Again, like I said, they like to do this when she starts saying something sad. Her tone changed there. They're playing piano music now.
Maybe a We're not sure how everyone at the school found out. Maybe a teacher ran out of the staff room yelling at everyone, turn on the TVs. Maybe a student had heard about it and ran into the school saying, did you guys see what happened? But very quickly, during homeroom period, Muhak Girls High School students found out that the bridge leading straight to their school, that most of their classmates and friends took every single morning to get to class, had collapsed. And those 8 empty chairs belonging to their friends, they may never be filled again. Every single channel on TV, every radio station was playing the same thing. A shocking incident has occurred this morning. During a severe traffic jam during rush hour, the Seongsu Bridge has collapsed. Nearly 100 feet of the road collapsed and broke off into the Han River, taking down multiple vehicles with it. Eventually, the police, fire department, and soldiers on base nearby would be dispatched to this collapsed bridge.
Okay, so looking at the bridge, further out, we can kind of see that it does in fact have a lot of dead space here. So this area here probably did not have a pillar, and then this section just detached naturally. Maybe it's meant to do that. If something's wrong, it's just built that way. They're just built in segments. They build they build this, right? They build this first, and that, and then they build in a segment in between them, is what I'm saying. And that segment just got weak at this area and fell down. Again, it's such a surgical cut. It feels like the bridge was meant to break like that. Not maliciously, but just if something's bad's going to happen, this is the best way for the bridge to break, is what I'm saying.
And broke off into the Han River, taking down multiple vehicles with it. Eventually, the police, fire department, and soldiers on base nearby would be dispatched to this collapsed bridge. In total, 1,500 people were mobilized to the scene. Some of the news reports started sharing suspicions that North Korea was attacking South Korea, that they had...
Again, this is what happens when during the Death Mall incident, that because it just pancaked out of nowhere, they thought it was a North Korean attack. So I'm guessing whenever anything happens, they just always have to be worried that it is in fact a North Korean attack.
The news reports started sharing suspicions that North Korea was attacking South Korea, that they had bombed the bridge, causing it to collapse. It was reported by world leaders that there's a genuine risk of war that would involve chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons. The nonpartisan Congressional Research Service estimates that North Korea could rain down on Seoul with 10,000 rockets per minute, killing 300,000 South Koreans in a single day, if they wanted to. Experts estimate that in the long run, if North Korea attacks South Korea, millions could die from this type of escalation. So people are thinking, maybe this is just the beginning. Maybe this is the work of a North Korean rocket. While news stations are on high alert about anything regarding North Korea, All the students at the all-girls high school are just terrified. They're so anxious that their friends are not showing up to class. And that bridge being the main method of transportation for many of them, it's making them feel panicked.
Isn't like, not I say isn't the job, but aren't you supposed to not say crazy stuff on the news so that people don't get panicked? And then because if people panic, it makes things worse. Like that's if something like really bad is happening, you're supposed to like chill out. I mean, that's just something that happens in the movies, right? Like we can't tell the humanity that something crazy is happening because if we tell them something crazy is happening, then they'll panic and make things worse. But just being like immediately like, oh yeah, it's a North Korean attack on the news. I don't think she exactly said that the news was saying, yeah, it's a Korean attack. I think people were just assuming it was a Korean attack. I mean, that's just the same thing that happened with the Death Mall incident. That's one of the thoughts that they had when it happened. But, of course, thankfully, thankfully it wasn't, but it still was like a tragedy, right? And I'm hoping that this footage isn't too actually showing isn't too bad because I saw that the microphone that guy had and the one shot was KBS. And if you don't remember from the Death Mall video, KBS for some reason does not like Japan. So this video may in fact be blocked in Japan.
They try to find out if someone released a list of names. Or what about the vehicles that were crashed? Wait, what car does Yuna's dad drive again? What about Sarah? They said it's only a few vehicles, right? Like, what are the odds that they were on that section of the bridge? Like, we need to calm down, right? It's gonna be okay. They had no answers. All they could do was wait, holding onto their breath, sitting at their seats, not able to focus on any of their schoolwork. And slowly, more reports came out about the collapse, including the fact that public bus number 16 was on the bridge when it went down. Bus number 16 was packed like sardines. This is rush hour in South Korea. There are students with their backpacks being squished by men in suits with their briefcases, security guards heading to work trying to close their shoulders in to make room for more people. Bus number 16 had made it across the part of the bridge that collapsed, according to the news, by half of its length. The part of the bridge that collapsed went down, and bus number 16, half of the bus, was on the part that did not collapse. And the other half of the bus was suspended in the air.
That's even worse.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get this diagram out. The bus was already on the. Cause I was like, how did it get? How did it flip?
Went down.
Okay, so
and bus number 16 half.
Because it doesn't make sense for it to be flip, like 180 degrees and be pancaked. So I'm guessing that
The bus was on the part that did not.
I'm guessing that this new bus, not this bus. This bus is the one that possibly, tipped over and fell because it makes sense for it to be 180 degrees and being pancaked like that. Because then it actually falling like this would cause the top, it'd be upside down and cause the top to cave in on itself on impact. Where it's just like falling straight down with the bridge, kind of, I feel like would be slow-ish. Like just this falling by itself would fall faster than just the bridge and everybody on the bridge falling down. I feel like, I don't know. Not like I'm a physics expert, but anything, but them just falling down like that, I think is better than this tipping and then 180ing on itself.
Collapse. And the other half of the bus was suspended in the air.
That's even worse.
Yeah. There was no concrete, no ground supporting the back half of the bus. It was essentially dangling. The driver of the bus, according to witness statements, tried to accelerate to move the rest of the bus to the part of the bridge that hadn't collapsed, move it to safety, but it was nearly an impossible feat. A standard city bus weighs as much as 44,000 pounds with all the passengers squished inside.
Yeah, a lot of people. Plus, does it have four-wheel drive? Like, are those back tires even strong enough to roll it backwards in the first place, even if it wasn't in this situation?
That is the weight of a whale shark. Imagine a whale shark that is half off of a bridge. How would you stop it from falling? The bus driver, He tried his best to not let the bus fall, but there's just nothing you can do. You cannot go up against physics like that. He tried. Witnesses stated that he accelerated all the way until the rear wheel of the bus hit the edge of the broken bridge, but it got caught on the jagged stone.
Oh my gosh.
The bus driver accelerated with everything he had, but because the rear wheels were caught, it caused the entire body of the bus to go up. The bus, to a degree, was now vertical because he's accelerating so much and the back wheel is getting caught. It was erecting itself up on the middle of the bridge. Drivers on the bridge were staring in horror because they knew that there was nothing that they could do to help. The bus went up and then fell back into the hole. The bus made almost a semicircle as it fell all the way down 66 feet and crashed onto the concrete slab that had broken off into the river. The bus was in the worst condition because the other vehicles that had fallen with the slab, there was a crash, they were injured, there were a lot of serious injuries, but because they didn't fall onto the crash, the impact was not as hard. Bus number 16 was crushed like an aluminum soda can.
That's what I was saying. Like, them falling with the bridge is less damaging than falling onto the bridge. I don't know if even like falling into the water would have been better. I feel like water is like if you hit water too hard, right? You're supposed to break every bone or whatever. You're still supposed to die if you fall into water from really high. But I feel like a vehicle falling high from a high spot into a vehicle would tank better than just hitting a solid surface. Like, I think the bus would have been less mangled if it didn't hit the concrete itself. If it hit the water, maybe it would have been better. And we have no confirmation because she hasn't said it of whether or not anybody lived through this, of the bus being smushed like this. But I'm assuming no.
Bus number 16 was the bus that many of the all-girls high school kids took to get to school. The next stop on the bus, right after they crossed the bridge, would have been Muhak Girls High School. Many families would later bring up the butterfly effect. And side note, just to clarify, I am only bringing up these types of questions and even the butterfly effect because a lot of the families of the victims were talking about it, and it just became a topic of discussion amongst a lot of news networks at the time.
Okay, so what are we going to do with the butterfly effect? Like, what are we meaning here with that? Because obviously, like, it's like if you want to go all the way to the beginning, like if you go back in time, crush a butterfly, and go back to the future is completely changed from this one butterfly. Or that's like that's not necessarily the butterfly effect. That's like if a butterfly flaps its wings, it creates a tornado on the opposite end of the earth. Like that, actions have consequences like that. The butterfly being squashed in the past and then completely changed in the future is I think it's a sound of thunder reference is what I'm referring to there. I think it's called A Sound of Thunder, not The Sound of Thunder. It's a book, but it's also a movie. And that happens in the movie. I don't know if it happens in the book, like the butterfly being squashed and then completely changing everything. But yeah, Sound of Thunder. Watch that movie. Read that book if you want. From what I remember, the movie was okay. Maybe people don't like the movie, but I thought it was okay. I was, of course, a teenager or a child back then. But again, go watch the movie if you want. Again, I think it's called A Sound of Thunder. Something like that. But yeah, what are we referring to when we speak of the butterfly effect in this situation? Of like...
I personally do not think any member of any victim's family should feel this way, because then it gets really easy to place blame on ourselves, which I just don't agree with.
Again, what are we talking about? Like, you can't just say butterfly effect. Like, we need some sort of context.
A lot of families stated that they kept thinking, what if I just made my family members a little late that day?
Okay, that's all it is? Okay, I mean, that's just the typical, like, guilt, right, that you feel when someone dies. Like, oh, the hindsight, what if I did this, what if I did that? Which, I mean, that's not how it works. There's nothing you could do, right?
By 5 seconds, could that have changed things? Like, what if I forced them to wake up earlier? Would that have made things different? I was thinking, they're so tired, maybe I should let them sleep in, but what if I had just woken them up on time? Would they be coming home tonight? They just kept blaming themselves and thinking about the butterfly effect. The butterfly effect is the idea that small, seemingly trivial, non-consequential events or decisions ultimately result in something with a much larger consequence.
Again, like a butterfly on one side of the world flapping its wings, causing a tornado to happen on the opposite end of the planet, etc., etc. But yeah, it's just like small things have a continuous and harsh, like hard effect on things. Again, like I said, if you squash a butterfly, if you go back in time, squash a butterfly, it completely changes the entire reality of the world. If once you get back to the present, etc., etc.
So a dramatic example would be a small butterfly flaps its wings in South Korea, and somehow this tiny change in air pressure and wind would somehow lead to another tiny little event where someone kind of slaps their hair around like this. That leads to another tiny event and another, and then it gradually snowballs, and it would eventually cause a tornado in New York.
So that's what I was saying. Like butterfly on one side, create a tornado on the other side. That's the common example when talking about the butterfly effect.
Or the idea that if you had a pile of sand, you think, okay, if I just remove a single grain of sand from this giant pile, it seems so trivial. Who's going to miss that tiny grain of sand? Who's going to even know that I took a tiny grain of sand? But it would change the entire pile of sand. The butterfly effect is often referenced in time travel movies and shows because the idea that you can go back into time and you do something that you believe won't do anything and it changes the future forever. One of the most famous classics is about a man who travels back 65 million years to shoot a dinosaur.
Okay, hold on. I swear to God, if she says a sound of thunder, I'm gonna be like, okay, where? I literally gave the butterfly flapping example because again, that is the example when you talk about butterfly effect. Is the butterfly on one side causes a chain reaction to create a tornado on the other side, and then I just happen to know about a sound of thunder. Who knows about a sound of thunder? I swear to God, if a sound of thunder is uttered out of her mouth, like who actually knows about that movie slash book other than like two people, I guess, which me being one, her being a second, if she is about to say a sound of thunder. Like, I did not pre-watch this, by the way. I mean, that's just what I think of when I think of the butterfly effect. Also, Until Dawn, I guess. So, Till Dawn, which is that horror video game, they have like a big deal about the butterfly effect. The butterfly effect movie with Ashton Kutcher? Question mark? That's his name, right? That butterfly effect movie. I've seen both endings, I think. The director's cut and the original. I've seen, I think, several of the Butterfly Effect movies. 'Cause I think there is more than just one. They had like several sequels. But like I could get a list of things that are like Butterfly Effect stuff. But again, like the main thing is a sound of thunder and the butterfly flapping its wing thing.
He's like, this is my dream, to kill a
I just didn't expect it to be this, where it's like I think that's the plot, right? Of Sound of Thunder. They go back in time to kill dinosaurs, but someone accidentally steps on a butterfly, and that ruins all of reality. That's all it took to ruin everything.
T-Rex. Now, according to history, the T-Rex was going to die anyway that day because a fallen tree would land on it, killing it. But he's obsessed. He's obsessed with wanting to kill this T-Rex. So he time travels, and the tour guide takes him there. Time travel tour guide. But when he goes up to shoot the T-Rex, the man starts getting scared. The T-Rex is so big. Like, what if the bullet doesn't kill him and it just makes him angry, and then the T-Rex is going to kill me? He's frozen in fear. The guide has to step off the path, because they have a time travel path, step off the path to shoot the T-Rex so that it won't kill them. They time travel back to the future, and everything has changed. Language is no longer the same. An evil dictator is now in power, and it just doesn't make sense. The T-Rex was going to die that day anyway from a fallen tree. Why does it matter if it was shot or not? It's dead. Ultimately, the T-Rex was going to die. They look down, and they see a crushed butterfly stuck to their boot.
Yeah, this has to be a Sound of Thunder. That's literally what I was telling you. That's the story of Sound of Thunder.
And the story shows how just them stepping off the path, stepping on a butterfly, changes history forever. It's terrifying on its own if you think about it too long, but a lot of parents of the victims in this story.
You just gonna give this example, not say like what you're talking about? Okay, I'm gonna bring up a Sound of Thunder. Okay, I feel like never mind. There's no point in that. But again, what she's referring to is a sound of thunder. If you are interested in this story, I don't know if it's a short story, but the movie is obviously a movie. It's 2005 movie. But yeah, it's a sound of thunder. Why is this so laggy? Like I know it looks like chicken scratch, but this tablet's also being really laggy, which is screwing up the handwriting. But yeah, a sound of thunder. That is what you're looking for.
Story, they just kept bringing up the butterfly effect. They said they kept asking themselves, could things have played out differently somehow? Maybe I would have asked if they wanted a coffee, and if they drank a coffee before they headed out, then they wouldn't have been on that part of the bridge. Or maybe I could have made them wake up 5 minutes earlier. Or maybe the night before I made them sleep 5 minutes earlier. Or maybe I was going to shower, but I could have just let them shower first. Or what if they wore a specific tennis shoe that takes a few extra seconds longer to tie? Could that have changed the outcome of things? Yuna had stayed up late at night drawing again. She was a junior at the Muhak Girls High School, and after all of her studies, her one guilty pleasure at night was to just draw. The next morning, Friday morning, she woke up a teeny tiny bit later than usual. I mean, at this rate, she was gonna miss her bus to school, and Yuna's dad offered her, hey, I'm gonna drive to work, the bus stop is on the way, get in the car, I'm gonna drop you off at the bus stop. Yuna did not even respond to him. She grabbed her backpack, got in his car, and she crossed her arms and stared out the window. Yuna's dad is trying to make eye contact with his daughter to see if there was an opening for conversation, but nothing. She refused to look at him, and she just stared out the window. It was kind of a Cold War. Yuna's dad had spanked her a few days ago, and she's a high schooler, so they're having it's very normal. It seemed like neither of them wanted to apologize first, so the whole drive all the way to the bus stop, they don't say a single word to each other. When he parks the car, he turns to his daughter, but she's already out the door, and she's saying, "갔다 올게," which means, "I'll see you at home later." And she closes the door, and she walks off to the bus stop. And when she gets there, the bus is not there, and she's wondering, did I miss the bus? Oh man, when is the next one gonna get here? And she watches as her dad drives off. Another student from the same school, Muhak Girls High School, was trying to make it to that same bus stop. She was a senior though. Her name is Sarah, and she had overslept.
Yeah, I don't know in this narrative that we're being told now if either of these or just that one are fine, because again, we are late. So was the bus that was going to school late, or was it early or on time? So if she's late, does that mean she's fine? And this is like a story of the father being like, oh, our actions, like in the butterfly effect, allowed us to save our daughter, I guess.
She stayed up studying for the college entrance exam. Like, this girl had not known a good night's rest in a really long time. She barely washed her face, barely brushed her teeth by the time that she's running out the front door with her backpack thrown over one shoulder. Her mom's telling her, be careful. And she's running as fast as she can, trying to not get caught behind all these very sweet, very kind, but incredibly slow walking elderly people. Sorry, excuse me. She could see the bus stop at this point, and she sees the bus that she's supposed to be on. This is the last one that she could take in order to not be late for school, is stopped at the bus stop, letting passengers on. So she's screaming, running, waving her arms. Wait, don't leave, please. I'm coming. Only one of the two students from the Muhak Girls High School would be alive by the end of the day. Snow globes are a little sadistic if you think about it. Like, there's a cute family inside of this clear sphere, and you see the family and their dog and their little house in the back, and you pick it up and you shake it with everything you have.
Okay, so where are we going with this analogy of the snow globe?
And then you just excitedly watch as they have to face this cold blizzard all by themselves. We are genuinely the makers of chaos. The 11 police officers who all managed to survive the collapse, they felt like they were in a snow globe. They had been living their lives to the best of their abilities, following the laws, starting their own families, and some sadistic unknown person had come by and violently shaked up their world. And even now, they feel like they're in a snow globe. 66 feet under the bridge in the middle of the Han River, they could hear the helicopters above them. They could see the fire trucks parked at the top of the bridge above them, rescuers' heads just poking over the edge, staring at them. They could hear them barking all sorts of orders over the megaphones. We need a port here. Get the equipment down here. Someone mobilize the cruise ships. But being police officers, they knew nobody was prepared for anything like this. They knew that they didn't have time to wait for any of that. They could hear people screaming, "Help me, help me." They also
Well, if we know anything about the aquatic preparedness of South Korea, it is that they do not have any. I'm still confused on whether or not the girl who was late and both girls who were late, if they were still alive, if they missed the bus and that bus was the one that was going to fall down. Like, I'm still confused on that narrative, which can happen with these videos, because we're being just told anecdotes and stories in tangent to each other. So it can be kind of confusing on what's happening. She says only one out of those 8 survived, but those are the ones that were on the bus. What happened to the girl who was late for the bus that never showed up? Is that one? Did the girl who was saying, "Hey, I'm right here," did she get on that bus? She didn't say if she got on that bus or not. She just said she was trying to wave the bus down so she can get on. But then the story stops there, and she just goes like, "Oh, only one out of the 8 survived." So it's like, what? Hello? What happened to those 2 girls? Did they get on the bus and that bus was the bus? Are we just supposed to assume they got on the bus and died? Like, I'm confused.
start whipping around to try and find out who's screaming, who needs help most urgently. One of the officers points into the water. There are 2 people being swept away by the current. They're gonna die. The Han River is known to have really strong currents, to the point that it's advised that you only swim in the designated beach areas. It would take just a moment for them to disappear with the current and just be dragged under the water. The rain is making it even harder for the officers to see, but they cannot miss these tiny 2 dots in the water, because right next to them is their half-submerged car going down. When the bridge collapsed and all hell broke loose, the silver car landed directly in the water instead of on the concrete island. 2 teachers that were in the car managed to escape the quickly sinking vehicle, but now they're at risk of drowning unless someone saves them. So the officers are screaming, "Get the tire!" The officers didn't even think about what they're doing. They're going into full autopilot mode. They're trained to act in crisis situations, so that's exactly what they're doing. They're focused. Get the tire. They work in unison to grab the spare tire, connect it to a rope, and they hurl it into the river. Grab the tire! The tire did not reach the teachers. It's not working. They're only getting further away. They're getting dragged by the current. So 2 of the officers, they look at each other, they look at the others, and without hesitation or saying a single word, they dive into the cold water. They manage to reach the 2 teachers and bring them back to the concrete island. The 2 teachers, Teacher Kim and Teacher Park, soaking wet, their hair is sticking to their foreheads. They're grabbing onto the wet police officers. "There's 2 more teachers in the car. Please, they're our coworkers. We carpool with them for the past 2 years. You need to go get them."
So I think whenever the cops do anything here, they're going to be fine, right? We don't know if they'll be able to save, how many people they'll be able to save, but again, she said that all the cops survived. I don't know if that means all the cops survived the fall, which was of course going to happen, because I don't think that them falling with the bridge was that bad, but I don't know if what she said meant that all cops survived. So if the cops actually end up doing something like jumping to the river, we know they're going to live and probably actually save the person, or if some cops actually died and she was just referring to them surviving the fall.
The other 2 teachers would never make it back to their classrooms. And then the cries became unbearable. All the police officers could hear were people begging to be saved, to be helped. Some were screaming in a frantic, high-pitched voice. Others were moaning as if they had stacks of bricks on top of them, and this is all the air they can muster out. The officers look over at the bus that crashed down next to them, and it's flipped upside down, and in the impact of the crash, of it crashing onto this concrete island, it had been completely squashed. If you stood next to the bus now, it would come back to your waist. That's how tall it was. The bus was flipped upside down, but it's crushed to the point where certain parts of the bus, the floor is touching the ceiling of the bus. It's like if someone stepped on an aluminum soda can, completely crushing it, pancaking it. There were bus chairs popping out of the bus, just scattered outside. Parts of the metal walls of the bus had popped off and they're crumbled on the side of the bus. The glass windows are all broken. School bags, lunch boxes of students are protruding out of the bus, soaked in liquid. It was blood. 21-year-old Officer Lee remembered looking at the bus, seeing the blood flowing out like a squash juice can, and he said there were layers of people on top of people. It was literally hell on earth.
I'm guessing he's the one who used the juice analogy because this is the second time she's used that analogy. I don't know if it's her saying it or if it was him, so that's why she keeps saying it.
He has to snap out of it. Voices are calling at him to help. He goes back into focus mode, trying not to think about who these people are, what's going on, where everybody was headed, the fact that 2 seconds ago he was headed to receive an award. He's not thinking about his family. He's thinking about saving lives, and that is it. The situation was being broadcasted live in all news stations in South Korea by the helicopter circling above. The people trapped in the collapse were really in their own snow globe. The whole nation is watching them without any single way to help. All the police officers would be seen on the news stations on the sinking island wearing nothing but their underwear. But it's only 40 degrees outside. Officer Lee and the other officers start pulling people out as gently as possible from this crushed bus. And all the other officers that are assisting, they would pull a person out, a middle-aged man, suit covered in blood, students in uniform covered in blood. They would look at the officers and they would say, "Thank you, I'm so cold." And with each person they pulled out of the wreckage, the officers would just start shedding articles of their clothes. Every single person that they rescued out of the bus told them, "I'm so cold," and they're shivering. And the officers knew that that is a dangerous combination. So blood loss causes your core body temperature to fall. It can actually lead to hypothermia and death. Normal body temperatures are at 98.6, but when it falls below 95 degrees Fahrenheit, you're at risk of your body shutting down. Hypothermia can lead to complete failure of your heart by causing an irregular heartbeat, respiratory systems go down, and eventually that leads to death. And a lot of these people being pulled out of the bus are showing signs of hypothermia. Yeah, it's only 40 degrees outside, but from blood loss, they're becoming hypothermic. Not to mention, it's the end of October before 8 a.m. Even just being outside would have been chilly in South Korea. But on the Han River, those current, those winds, it likely feels much colder, and it's raining. Officer Lee would take off his police jacket and give it to the first person he pulled out. Then he ripped off his shirt, gave it to the next person. Then his pants. He pulled another person out of the bus, a student. They said, "I'm so cold." And he looked down. He has no more clothes. He's in just his underwear. And he's thinking quick on his feet. He runs to the police van and he starts ripping the car seat covers to take off so that he can provide some sort of warmth. And when it finally rips off the seat, he runs towards the student he just pulled out and he said, "I got it, here, take the..." The student was dead. The officers had to keep going though, even though it just started to feel pointless and painful. They rushed to get everybody out of the bus and cover them with car seat covers. They would ask the person they just pulled out, "Ajashi, are you okay? Do you need help right now? Is this warm enough? Here, take the car seat cover." No, thank you so
So we already learned that Adashi or whatever means old lady, right?
much. Go save the others, go. The officers would turn around, go back into the bloody bus, drag another person out, and place them right down next to the ajashi, who was now dead. In another instance, Officer Lee pulled out a man from the bus. He was covered in blood, badly injured. He's still actively bleeding. And like the others, he desperately needs medical attention. I mean, this is life or death. Officer Lee sits him down and he's reassuring him, like, "Just hold on tight, okay, ajashi? The rescue boats are coming. They're gonna be here very, very soon. Just stay awake." The Officer Lee looks up out into the river to see where the rescue boats are, how far in the distance they are, and he starts smiling because he can see them speeding towards the concrete island, and this is good. And he looks down. The man is dead. It felt like every time they rescued someone, they would turn around to help someone else, and the person they just rescued would be dead.
Like an old man, maybe. Because I said it was old woman, but maybe it's old man. Just an older person.
They were alive 2 seconds ago, and now they're dead. It would take 30 minutes for the rescue boats to arrive. Rescue operations began, and bodies were carried onto boats on stretchers. Helicopters used rescue bags to now lift dead bodies. Rescue teams took way too long. When they first heard the bridge collapse, most of them made their way onto the bridge to the giant hole in the center. But what the hell are you going to do from there? So they wasted a lot of time driving back off the bridge, finding boats to get to them, to get to the side of the collapse by water this time. It was also later revealed that the call center employees briefly thought all the calls coming in about the collapse were prank calls. So they wasted even more time that they could have used to save lives by contacting the correct people like the Navy.
I kept talking about how I assumed that they kept thinking stuff was pranks in like the Itaewon one and the ship one. But I guess this time, literally, the ferry incident. This one, they actually thought they were pranks. So that actually did come around to like them just thinking, oh, it's just a prank. But like, how many calls can you get before you realize it's not a prank, right?
32 people died that day. Save lives by contacting the correct people like the Navy. 32 people died that day, 9 being students, and 17 more people were injured. It is widely believed that if the rescue boats had come sooner, more people would have been saved.
Of course, but again, we already know that South Korea had issues with water rescue.
And now with the rescue teams doing what they should have done 30 minutes ago, administering medical care, the 11 police officers, they sat down to catch their breath for the very first time since the collapse. Officer Lee, he's 21. He called his dad because he usually reports to his parents, and I believe he was still in a state of shock though, because he just told his dad very bluntly everything that happened like he was still on autopilot. I mean, he was so nonchalant. He stated, yeah, Dad, Seongsu Bridge collapsed and I rescued some people out, so it's fine, don't worry about it. And his dad responded, okay, 조심해, be safe. And he hung up. It did not register in that moment for Officer Lee's dad what his son was saying. After the line went dead, his dad stood there processing what his precious son had just told him. And he immediately called him back and he screamed into the phone, "You're where?" The Seongsu Bridge was a symbol of economic power.
Okay, and it's collapsed, so what is that going to do?
The Seongsu Bridge was built 15 years before it collapsed. I mean, it was part of the government's plan to modernize Seoul before the Summer Olympics were coming. Listen, don't even get me started on the Olympics and what the cities will do for Olympics. It was going to...
Okay, well, did they cut corners for this bridge? Are we going to hear about that? This seems like it's not a incident that requires a boogeyman, but am I going to be told that there was a boogeyman and it was the government cutting corners on trying to get this bridge made?
Going to be held in Korea. They wanted Seoul to be cleaned up. The government spent $470 million to clean up the Han River. Just clean it up from pollution. They said the Han is like clothing to the people of Seoul.
So this is Olympics, 1990s?
Yeah. Something to wear daily with pride, something to keep clean. Our fathers and their fathers would swim in the Han. It's our lifeblood. And yet, 32 people had just died because the bridge collapsed into the Han River. And there were signs that the bridge was gonna go down. 10 hours before the bridge collapsed, a large gap had formed in one of the joints on the floor of the bridge. Like, you could look into it and see water. It was a large gap. Seoul City was alerted and they sent workers out there to lay a small iron plate on top of the gap so that nobody's tires would get stuck. And it wasn't even, I say small iron plate. It's not small. It was 4 feet by 7 feet.
Okay, 4 feet by 7 feet, so obviously 7 feet. It's bigger than a human, this plate. Several humans stacked together for that plate.
They were trying to put a Band-Aid on a bridge?
Literally, quite literally, they put a Band-Aid on the bridge. Slapped a Band-Aid on. This was 160 feet from the site of the collapse. They were going to repair the joint later, they said, but they postponed it due to bad weather, which is fine, but then why not just shut the bridge down until it's repaired? The next morning, about an hour and a half prior to the bridge collapsing, reports started coming in that people could hear these creaking noises coming from the bridge. You know those horror movies where they walk into those old haunted houses and it feels like the entire house is thundering? They said it sounded like that, but on a bridge, which can't be great. It sounds like a monster, like deep, low rumbles and creaking noises. It sounds like it's echoing too, like something big is shifting. It sounds like thunder inside of the bridge.
Thunder. mentioned, A Sound of Thunder. Go watch A Sound of Thunder. A lot of sound, a lot of sound effects this day. Because again, I've noticed it in prior videos, but not necessarily sound effects, just the piano sting being added during like dramatic moments. But a lot of sound effects for this one. I don't know if that is just like normal or something they were doing beforehand, because this is a year ago. So I think this is like in some sense situations before some of the videos that we watch. So some of the ones that come after this don't use sound effects so heavily. So I don't know.
Seoul City said once again that they would check it out, but after the rain stopped, less than an hour later, the bridge collapsed. Over 30 people died and more were missing. Search teams consisting of 150 personnel were sent into the water to locate more bodies. Professional divers, the Navy were all involved. They found the silver car with the 2 remaining teachers inside. They had drowned. And a little while later, searchers came across another fully submerged vehicle, a gray Hyundai, and the driver had not been able to escape from the submerged vehicle. He was also dead. After 5 days, they called off the search and no more bodies were found in that area of the Han River. 32 dead, 29 from the bus, 9 of them being students, and 3 that drowned. Muhak Girls' high school graduation was 4 months after this. Everyone showed up. I mean, even students who weren't graduating that year, parents of students, they all rallied to show support for 8 students that would never be coming back. Many of the parents of the deceased brought in a single yellow tulip in memory of their children. Sarah brought one in too. The bus never waited for Sarah, the one that collapsed. And that is the only reason that she survived.
Okay, so Sarah is the one who was trying to wave the bus down for her to get on, and it didn't stop for her, so she lived. But again, what about the girl who was late?
She said, when I got on the next bus, the bus driver said that we couldn't go by this Hongsu Bridge route, and I was surprised that we passed a different bridge to go to school. I ran into the classroom because I was late, and everyone was crying and hugging me. Everyone thought that something had happened to me because I hadn't come to school on time. They were playing the news. They said Yuna and her dad had a big fight a few days before she was killed. Most high schoolers, they have a hatred for parents lecturing them. And in that car, her dad thought, wow, she's really mad at me. But Yuna she's a high schooler. She didn't know how to apologize yet. And she didn't know when was the appropriate time to give her dad this letter because she felt like her dad was still mad at her. And so she saved that letter in her backpack. And it read, "To my loving dad. Dad, I can't hide my tears whenever I think about you. I know that your heart must hurt 100 or 1,000 more times when you spank me. Dad, don't think that you spanked me. Think of it as you were spanking the bad thing inside of me. And I really, really, really love you so much that it feels like my heart is going to explode. And I promise I'm just going to keep doing my best to make you proud. Appa fighting." And it was signed from Yuna, who loves her dad very much.
Okay, so that kind of tells us that she did make the bus and then she ended up dying. So again, the whole thing of the butterfly effect, right? The dad trying to force her to get to school on time when should have just let her be late, right? Which again, you can't think like that. You're just doing what you're supposed to do.
Yuna's dad would die 2 years later from a serious health condition, but friends and family knew that he was in a rush to go tell Yuna that he received her letter.
Okay, I was gonna say what did he go on purpose, but no, it was just he died from something else. But again, he probably, like they said, he probably wants to be with her anyways, right?
Another family, the Kangs, they lost their youngest son, Peter, in the collapse. When Mr. and Mrs. Kang heard that Peter was gone, that he was killed in the collapse, they fell to the ground and they were slamming their fists down, screaming, "Peter, Peter." It was Peter's last day at work today. He had quit his job to focus on his studies of becoming an accountant, and his parents felt guilty. They couldn't help but think, had the collapse happened just a day later, had Peter just quit a day earlier, their precious son would be alive today. Bridges are all about balance. To simplify it, when you have a force going down like gravity, the structure is going to go down. But when you have a force going up, and a force coming down, the structure can stay still if it's perfectly balanced. Now, there's a ton of different types of bridges, but all of them are about balancing forces. So take a beam bridge, for example. This is the cheapest, most simple type of bridge. So picture you get two stools, two chairs together. You place them a few feet apart and then place a wooden plank on top. There, you have a beam bridge. Now, let's say you want to make this beam bridge longer. You got to get creative, because imagine you just push the chairs further apart and try to balance a longer wooden plank. Suddenly, the weight is going to feel heavier. It's going to start sloping down in the middle of that wooden plank when you put weight on it, right? It looks like it's going to snap in half. So what do? I mean, technically, you could add another chair in the middle to balance out the weight, but that's not the cheapest or the easiest solution. You want to keep a good chair distance from each chair, so you don't want to spend so many chairs on this wooden plank. So what do? You add trusses to it. Imagine you have 4 toothpicks.
Yeah, I think what she's talking about is the what you call it? Because we saw it early on the bridge, right? The cause you kind of have like this shape on the bridge because these things are doing this, right? And in between this, there is a amount of stuff like that. Like I'm not gonna go ahead and like do too much, but the trusses are these things here, the triangles in between a bridge that spread the weight out? Question mark.
You tape them up into a square. How easy would it be for you to take your finger, put it on the one corner of the square, push it down, and suddenly it's not a square anymore. It's a different shape. It's pretty easy, right? Because it's just going to bend.
Yeah.
So what would be the best way to ensure that it doesn't tilt?
Doesn't tilt? Oh, you add like 2 more in the middle, cross it.
Just add one. Just add one diagonal. So now instead of a square, it looks like 2 triangles. Triangular support systems are great in bridge structures. I mean, they're great at holding their shape and not falling to pressure. It's very evenly distributed. And that's what a truss is. So this Hongsu Bridge was a truss bridge that relied on these triangular support beams to hold it up. So there would be a pillar or a chair, and then the bridge part that the cars are driving on would be on top of these triangular support systems, and then another pillar, and then more triangular support systems. And it means that the bridge can use way less pillars or chairs in our example. So for context, another bridge in South Korea would be categorized more as like a steel beam bridge, like a regular bridge. Each pillar or chair is about 110 feet apart. This Hongsu Bridge, the pillars are almost 400 feet apart, because the Hongsu Bridge has these triangular support systems, which is typically a very smart and safe way to create good bridges. But that also means one of the most important parts of this bridge is gonna be the truss, the toothpick part. And it's not actually toothpicks, they're steel beams, but you get the idea. And more importantly, one of the most important things are gonna be...
I'm pretty sure everyone understood that we're not talking about like actual toothpicks. If you're making a bridge, like for like a class or something, you would be using toothpicks, which is probably what she's referring to as that. Maybe she's had to make a bridge in school out of like popsicle sticks and toothpicks or something. And that's why she keeps using the toothpick analogy.
Beams, but you get the idea. And more importantly, one of the most important things are going to be how the toothpicks are attached to each other to create these triangular shapes, the joints. That's what's welded together. That's the welding part. So another analogy that's hopefully going to make it super easy to see how horrible this Hongsu Bridge was constructed. If you have to tape 2 pieces of paper together, the cheapest way to do it would be what? You get 4 pieces of double-sided sticky tape, put them on each corner of one piece of tape, slap them on the corners of the piece of paper, slap the other paper on top. But let's say you want to spend a little more money, make it a little more secure. Maybe you tape the borders, all 4 sides, and then slap the other piece of paper on top. Or if there are millions of lives on the line and it depends on these 2 pieces of paper being taped together for years through all sorts of weather conditions, the best thing that you can do would not just be tape the corners or the borders, but everything. Apply double-sided sticky tape to the entire page and then stick the other paper on top of it. Every part is essentially glued together. The Hongsu Bridge constructors were supposed to do that, but they just taped the borders and called it a day.
Okay, so we have a boogeyman. They didn't make the bridge. They cheaped out. They, in fact, did cheap out on making this bridge, and that is what's caused this problem.
For the joints of these trusses, the triangular support systems.
Why?
To save money.
What?
To save time and money. A lot of money.
Always money.
They also didn't use high-quality tape or welding materials, if you want to, It was actually stated that the bridge should have collapsed maybe like 4 years after it was built. It was that bad of construction. I mean, once they started investigating, people were surprised how this bridge even lasted this long. A Korean news station, MBC, went underwater to the scene of the accident of the concrete island, and they saw that the collapsed portion trusses, the triangular support systems, were held together, and the welding, they could literally unscrew bolts with their own hands.
Oof.
Other rusty parts of the bridge could just be ripped apart by a single hand. Like the cameraman had one camera in his hand and then the other hand was just ripping apart the bridge.
Wow.
Other times, there were parts of the bridge that needed nails to hold two things together. Very important, obviously. Now, the nail is supposed to be, let's say, a foot long, but the nail would only be 3 inches long. The welding, the taped paper, it broke off during the collapse and it looked like it exploded from the weight. It straight up looks like a cardboard box that was torn open, like it was not done at all. Like I mentioned previously, Seoul was going through this rapid expansion phase.
Again, like the clinical cuts of the bridge falling down just seemed so clean, like so surgical is actually what I was thinking. It's such a surgical cut that it's just like it was put together so poorly that it just caused such a clean cut. Because I would expect it to be more jagged and not just a slice. Like again, like the bridge seemed to be like a perfect slice. Like it was just a perfect cut like that. I expected it to be like more like that. Like that's what the piece that fell off should have been like, not this. Obviously, once it was okay, I can't get a straight line because like I'm not in a comfortable spot to be drawing, but they're all squished together. But it was like a perfect rectangle almost. Once it hit the water, obviously, it was no longer that, but the cut that got taken out of the bridge did not look like this.
Government bids for construction projects would typically go to companies that promise the government that they had the fastest construction, which is great in theory because, yeah, we need more bridges to cross the Han River, but not great in theory because it inherently incentivizes the company to be cheap and rush the construction at the expense of safety. People said that this was all part of South Korea's 빨리빨리 culture. So 빨리빨리, it translates to like hurry, hurry, quickly, quickly. But in the cultural context, 빨리빨리 culture is kind of like rushing people to do things quickly or get something done at a faster pace. You will very often hear Koreans saying like 빨리빨리, like 빨리 갖다 줘, like hurry, hurry, everybody hurry. You go to Korea, you're standing on the side for 2 seconds too long, people are like, you gotta hurry it up. It's similar to New York where no one has time for you to just stop in the middle of the sidewalk. Deliveries are fast, internet speeds are fast, everything is about 빨리빨리. The bridge was constructed by the company Donga ENC. They promised the government that they would construct the bridge at half the cost of the other construction companies.
Okay, so new company here, because I'm pretty sure we haven't heard of them before, question mark. So not in relation to any of the other stories.
They were contracted by the government to build almost a mile-long bridge across the Han River for $63 million. Which is a lot, don't get me wrong, right? But a lot of major bridges, I mean, albeit some of them are a lot longer, but they can easily cost hundreds of millions and most of them closer to $1 billion.
Wow.
So Donga is charging $63 million, half of what the other contractors in Korea are asking the government for, which sounds alarming, doesn't it? But the citizens were like, you know what? Donga is the best construction company in Korea right now. It's like the second largest contractor in South Korea at the time. And there's nothing we can do about it. It's the government choice.
Wait, so they asked for half and it's going to do it in double the speed?
Yeah. They're like, we're going to do it quicker and for cheaper. So people thought, I mean, not that citizens had a choice. I'm not saying the citizens voted for this. The government gives it to whoever I guess they're sleeping in bed with, right? But the citizens felt a little bit reassured because the company had a lot of good publicity. The chairman of Donga, Chairman Choi, was often hailed.
I mean, of course, good publicity doesn't mean anything, right? Just means that someone could be covering anything up.
As some sort of construction hero. They called him the one who can accomplish the impossible. So if we give the government the benefit of the doubt, maybe they genuinely thought that Donga had some sort of crazy system or skill to make things happen more efficiently and cheaper than other companies. After the collapse, Donga made a statement and said, our company's warranty is over. The company's warranty for the bridge was 5 years. Afterwards, we cannot be held responsible for the accidents. We have no legal responsibility for this.
Okay, so that means he knew that all his stuff was trash, just that they knew they could make it cheap enough, but still last to its warranty. Like they knew they probably knew the exact moment it would break, and they were like, okay, we need to make sure the warranty is to this amount of time, and then so we can't be liable for what happens.
It was so cold. There was nothing about the victims. It was just, this is legally not my fault. But Chairman Choi of Tonga definitely did not help the situation. He visited the scene of the collapse the day of, and he said, if Tonga is responsible, we will take full responsibility. But then his tone changed a few days later, and he said, in order to realize Tonga's moral responsibility as the constructor of the Seongsu Bridge, with this incident, we are being reborn. Basically saying, hey guys, if you want us to, because we constructed this bridge, morally, we're taking responsibility. Not legally, don't get it twisted, morally. But now we are reborn because we did something so great. Because we morally took responsibility. Eventually, an investigation was opened into the bridge's collapse. Chairman Choi's entire attitude changed, and he said, look, I've been to Seongsu Bridge countless times, driven over it. Let me ask you a question. Would I have gone to Seongsu Bridge if I ordered it to be built cheaply and fast and without regard to safety?
I mean, if you knew the exact expiration date, sure.
The company essentially argued that the bridge was fine for the past 15 years, so it's not their fault. If it was this bad, how would it have lasted 15 years? They started shifting the blame to Seoul City, the city government, for negligence on maintaining the bridge. They stated that for the responsibility of managing all the bridges over the Han River is done by the city of Seoul. The city is required to conduct safety inspections on facilities every single year. So does that mean they ran their test and their results said the bridge was fine? Were they not thorough in their testing? Did they even test the bridge? It was later revealed that after 15 years of its construction, the Seongsu Bridge was never subjected to any detailed inspections.
Okay, so the government never inspected the bridge? Question mark. I'm assuming the people who built it didn't really need to do that. It's the government. The government never did anything. Again, it's just the same thing again, right? Just incompetence from the government. Also, the people building for money. Money in the government every time. Same story every time.
The government decided the bridge inspections would focus solely on older bridges. Another very dangerous thing to note, the government never restricted heavy vehicles from the bridge, nor did they try to limit them, which that's a huge pivotal part of ensuring the safety of bridges, because bridges, yes, they're supposed to be safe. You have to make sure that they're not overloaded though, because that could cause a collapse. There is no bridge that has unlimited weight limits. They're all built to only withstand a certain amount of weight. So not only did the government completely disregard the safe limit of the weight, they were doing more. The bridge had started off as a 4-lane bridge, and it was still a 4-lane bridge when it collapsed. But there were plans to get rid of the pedestrian lanes on both sides, redo the bridge, like the paint of the lanes, and make it 5 lanes. They were gonna add on more load, more heavy cars, more buses.
What do you do with this extra lane? With 5 lanes? Like, is it just a one-way bridge? If it's just one way, then sure, but I don't think it was a one-way. Where is the third one going? Is it gonna go up or is it gonna go down? Like, you should keep this stuff even, right? So you have 2 roads one side, 2 roads the other way. Not like 3 one way, 2 the other.
More transport vehicles, which would add more weight to this already exhausted, stressed structure. Side note, now it makes it seem like it's all the government's fault, but yeah, I think it's both their fault. Like, both sides hold so much responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just, oops. It's just, again, greed on the bridge making side, and the government's incompetence side. It's the same thing.
Government's fault,
every time.
But yeah, I think it's both their fault. Like, both sides hold so much responsibility. Tonga's construction of this bridge is so well known internationally by engineers and even used as a case study for civil engineering students for the abysmal, terrifying, reckless construction of what honestly should not even be labeled a bridge. Allegedly, Tonga hired an expert in steel plate welding. So that's like the tape part I was telling you about. The joints, the most important part, very important of a truss bridge. But when that expert insisted on, hey guys, we need to go a little bit slower because we need to inspect the steel plates thoroughly because this is the most important part. He was allegedly fired. Seoul prosecutors launched a criminal investigation into the bridge collapse. They were, in a way, investigating their own peers, and they did not like what they found. Seoul City had a contract with a third-party company and tasked them with handling the bridge maintenance and repairs. So let's call that B Corporation to keep things simple. B Corp had submitted a report to Seoul earlier that year. So this is in October. They did it early, spring. They said, hey, the steel joints and the beams, yeah, they're compromised. It is in urgent need of repair. Which doesn't sound like a we'll get to it when we get to it type of problem, but Seoul did not do anything about it. Yeah, October 26, less than a week since the collapse, prosecutors arrested 7 B Corp officials because prior to this urgent message sent to Seoul, the bridge had so many red flags that they didn't even inspect. Like, they let it get to this point. They could have flagged it earlier on, but they were too lazy to do daily reports. They never checked it out. And then finally, earlier that year, they finally checked it out. And they were like, ooh, no one should be on this bridge. It's going to collapse any second now. 4 Seoul metropolitan government officials were arrested for disregarding that very urgent message sent earlier this year about the compromised beams.
Is anyone actually going to get in trouble, though, for this? Or is it just going to be like, oh, yeah, slap on the wrist, or just get out of it scot-free?
And just moving on, business as usual. 6 Tonga construction officials were arrested for obvious reasons for the construction of the bridge. And there was debate on whether or not the mayor of Seoul, Mayor Lee, would also be arrested, but the then president of South Korea forced him to step down as mayor instead, which honestly just feels like a slap on the wrist. And in the end, they received sentences ranging from 6 months to 3 years in prison, which is, it's nothing, literally nothing. A few years later, Tonga Group, the parent company of Tonga Construction, would file for bankruptcy, and the government promised. They're like, things are going to change, guys. Things are going to be different from now on. We will care for civilian lives. 8 months after the bridge's collapse, the Sampung department store in Gangnam would collapse, killing 502 people, which we have covered in a previous episode.
Okay, well, that's the mall disaster, which we have seen already.
8 months apart. And you can still go to the Seongsu Bridge today. But it's not the same one from the collapse. The government at first, they're wild. They told...
Did they decommission the bridge and then rebuild a new one? Or did they just put some duct tape and glue and bubble gum and paper clips on the old bridge and said, oh yeah, it's good now?
The public that the Seongsu Bridge, like the collapse part, would be repaired and back up and running within 3 months.
No.
And they were gonna like fix the welding on other parts of the bridge. There was huge public outcry, and it didn't seem like anyone would ever drive on that bridge, even if it was repaired. So the government decided to hire another company to fully dismantle the existing Seongsu Bridge and
Okay, so they decommissioned it and then got a full new bridge.
build a completely new bridge in its place. The new bridge, which I believe did recycle some parts of the old bridge, it was built by Hyundai Engineering and Construction for $140 million. And side note, the deceased victims' families were compensated about $200,000.
I mean, that's always happens, right? They get compensation, but again, as everyone always says, money's not going to bring them back, so it doesn't really matter.
$200,000 from Seoul, about $52,000 from Seoul City, and $60,000 from Tonga, reaching about $312,000 per victim, which, I mean, that's nothing. I believe the injured also received a bit of help in terms of medical bill assistance, but really nothing. The police officers who actively rescued people and were traumatized and were victims, they received nothing. No compensation, no mental health. The police officer we talked about from earlier, he said the only way he really learned to cope was life is short, so even if he doesn't have a lot of money in his pocket, now he eats whatever he wants. Because you don't know when your last meal is. Officer Lee, the 21-year-old, he struggles heavily with PTSD and survivor's guilt. He said, the most regrettable thing is I couldn't save more people. And then I lived, but they died. The new Seongsu Bridge would also take the life of another victim. The father of one of the students who died in the crash. He would always visit the new bridge when he thought of his daughter because there's pedestrian lanes. But it was just too hard. On the 4th anniversary of his daughter's death, he took his own life at the spot where the bus had fallen. His family said he blamed himself for not being able to protect his daughter. Many of the victims' families fainted when they were asked to come ID their loved ones in the beginning. One mother cried out, my baby, how can I live? How can I live on without my child? Please go look at my child, and please somebody just wipe the blood off of him, please. Wipe the blood off of my baby. It hurts. One family member of a victim said, there are a lot of accidents with hundreds of victims. Sometimes the number 32 feels small. That's why I feel like our loved ones get forgotten sometimes. The number is not what matters, though. What matters is there should not be a single person who ever dies like this again. I don't want the world to forget. And even though almost 30 years have passed, every single year banners are hung up near this Hongsu Bridge Memorial, and they read, even if the whole world forgets, 엄마, Mom, will never forget. And that is the case of this Hongsu Bridge collapse. What are your thoughts? If you listen to this Hampung department store, I mean, is it crazy knowing that this happened just 8 months prior and that still occurred? What are your thoughts? Leave it in the comments, and please stay safe. I will see you guys on Sunday for the next episode.
Okay, so that was the bridge collapse video. Again, it's just the same thing again. I mean, it's not as obviously this video was only an hour long, so there wasn't too much going on. There wasn't too many boogeymans to talk about. It was literally just they built it wrong and they didn't inspect it. So greed and incompetence, negligence, etc., etc. The same thing we've been hearing every single time so far from these videos. So hopefully South Korea is fine now after having so many back-to-back tragedies, because again, this happened and apparently the mall happened not too long after this, basically the same year, within the same year period, like less than a year. And then I guess the ferry happened after that, question mark. So they have so many things back to back to back. You would hope that they got their stuff together now, and they can actually deal with these issues faster. They're not building things made out of paper mache anymore, though. I mean, I don't live there, know anything about South Korea, so that might not be the case. They might be still building things out of paper mache and have no experience at helping people, etc., etc. Also, oh, Itaewon also happened, right? Too. Don't forget about that. So that's not necessarily a thing that had anything to do with money. Well, maybe money, but nothing to do with money really, or construction. It was literally just incompetence by the police, right? And the government. So government's still kind of oof. That was 2020. That's probably like the earliest or the newest thing that's happened to them. I think was the Itaewon Halloween tragedy. So there's probably still issues, but hopefully, again, stuff is being built right, and they are able to deal with crises faster and better for less casualties. Also, again, for the millionth time, if you had never known what she was referring to with the dinosaurs and the butterfly effect, you didn't know what that story was because she never actually gave you the name of that story. I just happened to mention it even before she mentioned it because it's something that I always think about. Like as soon as it's like a Pavlovian response. Right? As soon as I hear the word butterfly effect, the first thing that pops into my mind is a sound of thunder. So if you did not know what she was referring to before, it is a sound of thunder, and you can go and watch that movie from 2005 or read the book or short story or whatever it is considered there. So again, if you did not know what she was talking about and you always wanted to know what she was talking about but could not find it, it is a sound of thunder. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Again, I don't know what we're going to do next. Maybe like literally tomorrow I'll do the Madman on the Island one, just because again this seems like this is all anyone wants to watch and interact with. So I guess we can keep doing some more Rotten Mango until we run out of stuff that I honestly want to do. Yeah, so maybe we'll be doing the Madman tomorrow on top of that. After that, I don't know. Maybe it'll be the Silent Killer South Korea after that. So expect that stuff possibly soon. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Remember to buy my stickers, think about becoming a member, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, so we can watch time and subscribers. And over we have a throne now as well. And shout out the members, EmmyStarr and RaleyDrew. But yeah guys, thanks for watching. Tune into the next episode. Like, subscribe, comment. Another do. See ya.